The camera will follow the player smoothly, as you can see, x-axis as well as in the y-axis, as you can see. So let's get into this. Go to assets, right click, create. Okay, C# scheme, name that to something like follow target or follow, and select the main camera and drag the script to add component section of main camera. Okay, and double click that to open up in Visual Studio. Double click that to open up in Visual Studio. So what we're gonna do, if we need so we need player position to follow the player. Okay, we need the player position. If we go to player, as you can see, transform has if we go to transform component, as you can see, position, rotation, scale in transform component. Basically we need the position. Okay, basically this transform. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go over to script and we're gonna remove this start function. We don't need that. Okay, and we're gonna use this update function, because update function call every single frame, so that's why we're gonna use that to keep track of player position in every single frame. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to top and we're gonna create public transform. Okay, we set it public so we can set in inspector. Okay, and that will be transform, basically position. Okay, and you can call it something like player position or player something like that, and close that off with semicolon, and control as on your keyboard to save this and head again to Unity. Okay, so in follow script that you will able to say an transform field will appear which says player. We name it player. So what you need to drag this player into that field. Okay, then we will have the player position, then we can follow the player. So that's why we will have the reference of the player before we follow the player. Okay, I hope. So just wait for to compile and select the main camera. If main camera, as you can see in follow script, player transform appear which says none, empty. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna drag this transform player transform into player section, and now we have the player position. Now we can follow that. Double click that to open up in Visual Studio once again, and we're gonna do it update function. Okay, so what we're gonna do, if we go to Unity and if I select the main camera, as you can see, main camera also has transform component, basically position. As you can see, position, rotation and scale. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to update function and we're gonna set transform. Okay, transform dot position. Basically transform dot position means over here the current position of the main camera. Okay, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna set equal to, we're gonna set new vector 3. Okay, vector 3. Okay, new vector 3. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create another vector, and that will be target position. Okay, so we're gonna create another vector 3, and we're gonna call it something like target pose or target something like that. And we're gonna do, we're gonna set equal to new vector 3. And as you know, vector 3 has x-axis, y-axis and the z-axis. Okay, and close that off with semicolon. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna replace this x with our player dot position in the x. Okay, so this vector will follow the player in the x of the player position. Okay, as well as in the y-axis. Okay, this vector will follow the player in the x-axis as well as in the y-axis, and we're not gonna put in z-axis. Okay, so we're gonna leave it as it is 0, something like that. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna put player. Okay, player dot position dot x. So this vector, a vector will follow in the x of player. As you can see, we pass the x position. Okay, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna pass player dot, okay, player dot position dot y. Okay, y. And what we're gonna do for the z, we can not gonna follow the player in the z axis. Okay, so that's why we're gonna put it 0f, or you can put something like transform dot position dot z. Basically means the main camera in the z axis. Okay, current position of the main camera in the z axis itself. So that's why we put over here, we're not gonna follow the player in the z axis. So that's why. So this vector, okay, target 3, this vector 3 target post will follow in the x player position. As you can see, we replace x position with our player position in the x, as well as in the player position in the y axis. So this vector will follow in the x player position, as well as this vector follow in the y player position, as you can see. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna set, okay, transform dot position. Okay, transform dot position equal to this target pose. Okay, you can set. target pose. So as you know, transform dot position basically means the current position of main camera, and we are setting equal to target pose. As you know, target pose, vector will follow the player in the x axis as well as in the y axis, because we replace x axis with a player position in the x axis, as well as we replace in the y in player position in the y axis. So this vector, target pose vector, will follow the player in the x axis as well as in the y axis. Okay, and in the next we setting transform dot position means the current position of the main camera, and we are setting equal to target pose. As you know, target pose will follow the player in the x axis as well as in the y axis. Okay, so control S on your keyboard to save this and head again to Unity, but in the y axis we're not sending any value, so that's why we putting main camera itself position in the z axis. Okay, will not replace with player position in the z axis, so the this vector will not follow the player in the z axis. Okay, I hope you get the idea. The player will follow sorry the main camera will follow the player in the x-axis as well as in the y-axis, because we're replacing with player position x as well as in y. Okay, so control S on your keyboard to save this, and if we hit play, okay, if we hit play, the main camera will follow the player in the x-axis as well as in the z-axis, oh sorry, y-axis. Okay, we not set z-axis, we put itself. So as you can see, the main camera is following the player in the x-axis as well as in the y-axis. Okay, as you can see, but as you can see, the movement is pretty rigid. Okay, as you can see, the main camera is following the player rigidly. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make smooth move some smooth, okay, to follow. So what we're gonna do, instead of using directly setting, okay, instead of setting current position of camera to the target position directly, what we're gonna do, we're gonna make smoothment. Okay, so we have to use this vector 3 dot slurp. Okay, this function, basically this function will take two vectors and it will move spherically. As you can see, spherically interpolates between two vectors. Okay, so it will firstly take the target current position as a second argument. It will take the target position, basically where you want to go, and a third argument, it will take the time. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna put as a first argument current position. Transform dot position, as you know, is the current position of main camera, and it will take second argument the target position. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna pass this target position, and as you know, this vector target pose vector will follow the player in the x-axis as well as in the y-axis. As you can see, it will not follow the player in the z-axis, so that's why we put itself my current position of the main camera in z-axis itself. Okay, and third argument, it will take the time. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make a variable. Instead of hard coding this, we're gonna make a variable. Okay, and we're gonna make it public, so we can set in inspector that will be float, and you can call it something like time or speed. I am going to call it time. By default you can set it to any value, 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 like that, but I am not gonna set it, so that's why I'm going to close that off semicolon, and we're gonna set it to inspector, so that's why we made it public. So as a third argument, we're gonna pass the time. Okay, time, and we're gonna multiply this with time dot delta time. Basically we're gonna make frame rate independent, so that's why we multiplying this time with time dot delta time, and close that off with semicolon, and control S on keyboard to save this. So what we're doing, we're setting transform dot position, basically my current position of the main camera equal to this vector 3 dot slab. As you know, this function will take the current position of the main camera, so we passing transform dot position basically means the current position of the main camera, and in second argument it will take the target position, basically where you want to go. As you can see, we have passed this target pose vector, and as you know, this vector will follow the player in the x-axis as well as in the y-axis. Okay, and a third argument, it will take the time or speed, you can call, and with this pass this time we gonna set it inspector, so that's why we made it public, and we multiplied with time dot delta time to make frame rate independence. Okay, and control S on your keyboard to save this and head again to Unity. Okay, you will able to see an a time variable over here will be appear. So what we're gonna do, it will be by default 0, because we haven't assigned it any default value, so that's why it will by default it will be 0. So we're gonna set something like 2. You can, it's up to you. Okay, you can set. So just wait for to compile. As you can see, time which 0 by default. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna set it to 2, something like that, and then we're gonna hit this play button over here in the top. And if we hit play, okay, if we hit play, we will able to see the camera will follow the player smoothly by this amount of time, okay, smoothly. As you can see, the main camera is following the player in the x-axis as well as in the y-axis with smoothly, as you can see, because we have passed the time argument as a third parameter, as you can see. I hope you get the idea of basics of following the player more